last 4 days, they have 38,000 people want it. 38,000 chapters at colleges, schools, other places. Numbers that, nobody's ever heard of numbers like that. So I think turning point could be, through what happened, this horrible act, it could be maybe bigger than it could have ever been had he been there. And I will say this, he'd be very happy if he saw what was going on. And there's some very good people, because I speak at Turning Point quite a bit. And Charlie would call me up. So the last time I spoke to him, he said, sir, and I think it was Phoenix, sir, could you get to Phoenix? This was like in a day. I said, Charlie, I'm the President of the United States. You called me asking me if I could speak tomorrow in Phoenix. You can't do that to me, Charlie. But usually I ended up going. He was great. He was a great guy, and he didn't deserve this. He didn't deserve this, believe me.
Omar, after his assassination, called Charlie Kirk a reprehensible human being. Should he strip her community assignments?
I would say, I think she's a disgraceful person. I think she's a disgraceful person, a loser. It's amazing the way people vote. I know it's people from her area, maybe of the world. I don't know. They got here and they vote her in. It's hard to believe, but I think she's a disgusting person.
And one more question, if I could. A lot of these, in recent of these trans shooters that we've seen over the last couple incidents, this flag right here is up and down 14th Street. This is what would be a trans flag. A lot of people are very threatened by this flag. It means a lot of different negative things to people, violence. Would you be opposed to taking this flag down up and down the streets of D.C.?
Well, I wouldn't be. Then they'll sue and they'll get freedom of speech stuff, so that'll happen. But I would have no problem with it. I will say, and Steve might just mention this, Todd, you might mention it too, because we're putting out an order. Freedom of speech means you can burn the American flag, which I think is horrible. But I noticed something over the last little while. As you do this, you start noticing things that you wouldn't normally think. It really causes unrest and violence when they burn American flag. So the American flag, I wanted anybody burns the American flag, go to jail based on freedom of speech, goes to jail immediately. But the freedom of speech protected them, right? And that's been argued a couple of times. And it's one of those things. But you know what? Hasn't been argued, and we're going to be arguing it, I think, very soon. And that's the violence. They incite violence. So I saw it just yesterday. They burned the American flag, and people that were there were fine. And all of a sudden, they're going crazy, and there's fist fights. It wasn't in Memphis either. But I will say, it incites violence. And I think you just do the exact same thing. Don't use freedom of speech. Use the incitement of violence. I mean, it's really, you had to see, these people were going at it. Yeah. And, you could burn other things and people just sit there, they fall asleep. You burn the American flag, and on both sides. But the level of violence I saw this flag burning cause was incredible. It was an incitement. So I hope you guys are going to be able to do that, Pam, right?
Well, there's also groups called Trans-Tifa. So perhaps if you can label them a domestic terrorist group, then in all reality, you could take that flag down because it would represent the Trans-Tifa.
I think you probably could. Again, you'll be sued, and it's okay. I've been sued before a couple of times, you may have seen. Anyway.
Netanyahu said that he doesn't rule out targeting Hamas anywhere they are. You said that you don't want to see Qatar hit again. Are there any guarantees that Qatar...
Well, he won't be hitting in Qatar. As I say, I call it Qatar, you call it Qatar. You're actually more right, but actually you're allowed to go. The Emir said, you can say it any way you want, but I've always thought of it as Qatar. I think it's a beautiful sound. And actually, they've been a very good ally. And a lot of people don't know that. But he won't be hitting Qatar, but he will be maybe going after. Now, there was an article that I read in a newspaper just about an hour ago where Hamas said they're going to use the 20 hostages as human shields. They're going to bring them up from the dark tunnels, and they're going to put them in the line of fire so that if Israel goes forward, they're going to die. And I thought that was very terrible, and I put out a statement on that. You saw that.
Mr. President, I want Charlie Kirk, in retrospect, given all of the moving ways that this White House has paid tribute to Charlie Kirk,
right.
Do you think it would have been fitting to lower the flags to have staff when Melissa Hortman, the Minnesota House Speaker, was gunned down